Hello, everybody. This is in a slightly different order, but I'm Sam,
And I'm MK.
and you are listening to East Coast Haunts. Welcome back, everybody.
Whoop whoop.
We are currently recording on the day before Valentine's Day, so if you're listening to this after that, hope you had a great Valentine's Day. MK, got any fun plans?
Actually, yes, my boyfriend and I are heading up to Newport, Rhode Island, and I have already Googled haunted places. I think we might have lunch at one of the haunted taverns. So I'll
Classic.
let you know. I'll let you know if I run into any ghosts while we're up there. How about you?
I don't have any plans for actual Valentine's Day, which is so annoying because it's on a Friday. But my fiance is working Friday, which is why we're not going out. But in case anyone was wondering, we went out to dinner on Tuesday night, and then he is going to be cooking me the dinner of my choice on Sunday night. So I've got
So
to
fun.
decide what I'm craving. But yeah, I think you'll have no issues finding haunted places in Rhode Island because I feel like the entire northern region, New England, if you will, is insanely
Yeah.
haunted.
I completely agree. I Googled it and it like popped up. It was like, oh, like top like 25 places in Newport, like
Yeah.
haunted places in Newport, Rhode
And
Island.
Newport's like not that
Whoa.
big, which is
No,
crazy.
exactly. But
Um,
speaking of haunted New England,
I was gonna say that was actually like
segue.
the perfect segue. I didn't even mean to do it. So we are talking about a place in New England that is haunted question mark. Today it's called Dudleytown, Connecticut. Mary Kate, had you heard of Dudleytown before we researched this?
No, I hadn't. And it's actually like it's one of those things that you're like, how haven't I heard of this before?
Yes,
As someone
yes.
that hosts a paranormal podcast,
It's embarrassing.
because yeah, no, actually, it was like a full ass town that just
Yeah,
that spoiler alert like disappeared off the map.
yeah,
But it kind of reminded me of Roanoke, like the Roanoke
yeah,
colony that like
yeah.
went missing and like no one knows.
What happened?
Yeah. It's very similar vibes to that. And honestly, as I was researching this, I was like, you know what? Roanoke might be like a good episode for us to cover.
Yeah, you're right. I always forget that because Roanoke now it's been, now it's like just like a regular place, but no, they still don't really know what happened, right?
They
Krakatoan
have
didn't.
theories. Like they have theories. I think it was like pretty widely accepted that like all the settlers like merged with the Native Americans in the area.
I hope so. That's probably the
And
best case
that's
scenario, right?
definitely the best case scenario, you would think. But who knows? I honestly don't know too much about it, so don't take my word for it.
Okay. Well, we'll do research, and then if our next episode is on Roanoke, then we can
You
correct
know.
ourselves.
Yes,
So,
exactly.
Dudleytown is it is a ghost town, but it's not your typical ghost town. By the way, I believe I mentioned this, but it's in Connecticut. It's in like the northwest Connecticut woods, in the town of Cornwall. So, like I said, it's not your typical ghost town. It's technically a settlement, an abandoned settlement, that's deep in the woods. It's pretty hard to find, and it is a peaceful forest today. But if you look back at its history, it's kind of been plagued with misfortune and mystery and rumors of a very, very old curse. So, to understand Dudleytown, we have to go back to the 1740s because that's when the area was first settled by a guy named Thomas Griffiths. It seems like that was kind of, I feel like that's like a little bit late for settlement.
Yeah.
You usually hear about it in more of like the 1600s, right?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like
For
this
America.
argument on yeah. Well, America's like a pretty young country, so I do think like a lot of the settling was still going on in like the 1700s,
Mhm.
but yeah, most of the big settlements like Plymouth Rock and Jamestown and stuff, they were definitely all the 1600s.
All the heavy hitters.
All the
So
big boys, the big kahunas, if you will.
the big kahunas. So this guy Thomas Griffiths, he's the first to settle there. Then pretty soon after, a couple members of the Dudley family arrived, which obviously that's why this was eventually called Dudleytown. There was a guy named Gideon Dudley, uh, Bar Barzilay.
I think that is how you pronounce
Barzilay, yeah. Um, Either Abel or Abiel, and Martin. These are all Dudleys.
Martin.
So Martin, every group's got a Martin, am I right?
That just cracks. It always cracks me up when there's like these old timey names, and then all of a sudden it's like Martin.
And Martin. So, the area was neverly. Oh, neverly. The area was never formally recognized as a town, but it did become known as Dudleytown because of the Dudleys, because they were so prominent there, because there were so many of them, so many Dudleys in the town. So there, the Dudleys were coming on in, but it wasn't quite like the ideal place to live. Dudleytown. Okay, picture the settlement. It was in this valley. And it was like surrounded by these steep mountains that had a ton of trees all around them. So there was always like a long shadow that was cast over the area. So there was not really like a ton of sunlight. And it became known as the Dark Entry Forest, which is very creepy.
That is freaky.
Right? Yeah. So it's already like it's not a great place to live just because it's very dark. The soil itself was very rocky and the sunlight was limited, and I feel like back in the day, farming was like one of the only ways to make one of like the only ways to make a living. So if you have rocky soil and not a lot of sun, that's pretty rough.
Yeah, I don't know if I could think of less ideal conditions for settling.
I know. I'm like, what possessed you to choose this place in this valley?
This looks good.
This dark valley. Yeah.
They literally did not want to hike up the other side of the valley. That's what they were like. Let's just.
The Dudleys are so mean. So even in the summer, like when it was a little bit better, it wasn't great. But then when winter came, we know New England winters are brutal, right?
Oof, yes.
So between all these factors, Dudleytown just never really like found its footing. It was never able to like take off and become like a big booming town. Like a lot of these places were becoming like, there's places in Massachusetts, there's places in like me trying to think of the other New England states.
New Hampshire.
Yeah, like there's all these iconic like older areas in New England that became super successful, and I think that was because of the farming, a lot of it. But Dudleytown just was not able to get to that level, which is
to really get established.
Exactly. And it kind of seems like bad luck or trouble or whatever you want to think of it as, kind of curse? Perhaps a curse, followed Dudleytown like at every single turn. There is a legend that emerged that the Dudleys were cursed. And Mary Kate, I know you're probably going to go much more into this, so I'll just give the 1-sentence, 2-sentence version. Basically, it's back in 1510, there was a man, a English nobleman named Edmund Dudley, and he was executed in 1510 because I think he was plotting to kill King Henry VIII.
Yes.
Who seems to always be in these tales. So apparently he was killed, and he was also like cursed that all his descendants would suffer misfortune. Which honestly, King Henry VIII was not that great of a guy, so I don't think
we should have let Edmund go sing.
Let sleeping dogs lie. So there is that curse, but I know you're gonna get more into that. Let's keep it with factual things for now. Over the years, settlers in Dudleytown reported many strange and oftentimes tragic events. Crops failed all the time, like I was mentioning before. There was a woman in the 1700s who got struck by lightning while standing on her porch, which is great. Like, oh my God, wrong place, wrong time.
Bro, can you actually, like, I know, like, getting struck by lightning is, like, relatively rare, but, like, could you, like, imagine? Also, I actually do have, like, an irrational fear of getting struck by lightning.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's irrational, actually, but...
Yeah, whenever I'm, like, I never go outside during storms. And also, do you When you were little, since our moms are sisters, I wonder if this was like a family thing. My mom would always say like, not to shower during storms.
Yes. Well, my mom always said don't take a bath.
Okay.
Shower was okay, but she was
Oh.
like, don't,
And I'm like, is
don't.
that because of lightning? Like, did they think that we were gonna get struck by lightning because it's attracted to water?
I guess so. But like, what are the chances of lightning coming in through the wind? Wait, that's actually so stupid. Wait, don't listen to that. I guess like
Wait,
maybe
why? I don't think that was stupid. Why do you think that was
coming
stupid?
in through the window. Like
No, well,
probably if it like were to strike the pipes, like the metal pipes.
oh, see,
And
when
then
you said that, I found nothing wrong with it because that was my train of thought too.
okay. Well,
Well,
that
I
was
don't
I
know.
always thought I was like, well, and then I guess when I moved into my current apartment, there's no windows in my bathroom. So I was like, oh, like it doesn't
I'm
matter
cool.
now. But now I just had this thought and I'm like, and actually I think it's storming outside right now, so I will not be showering until later on tonight.
I was gonna say it's interesting. Like, I don't know if other people. I don't think I've ever heard anyone else talk about that. So you guys,
No.
let us know in the comments below if you have heard about not showering or bathing during a thunderstorm.
It's
So
definitely a family thing and everyone else is like, guys.
everyone's like, "Hey, this is not normal." So, so yeah, so all these like weird, bizarre incidents happened, and there were cases of mental illness, which I was like, okay, like isn't that kind of everywhere though? But anyway, all this stuff. Oh, and apparently a whole family disappeared. I don't have the full story on that. You might.
I do.
Okay, good. So all this just like all these weird things that would happen throughout the years that kind of made people be like, is this town cursed? Like, what is going on?
Okay, up there in Dudleytown.
Yeah. So, so of course, now historians have debunked many aspects of like the legend and the curse. For for starters, there's no genealogical link between the Dudleys of Cornwall, who obviously the guy that was executed was from Cornwall. There's no link between the Dudleys of Cornwall and the Dudleys of Dudleytown.
Yeah,
So,
but like what if the curse was just anyone with the last name Dudley?
you know what? It could be. It could be. Who are we to say?
How specific did they get with this curse?
Yeah, is it
Were they like these Dudleys or all Dudleys?
I feel like it'd be really petty if it was all Dudleys.
Yeah, that would be
Like,
crazy.
that's like so unfair.
That's insane.
But then also a lot of the curse, the quote unquote curse, can just be attributed to like the living conditions of the time. I think that it was like tough to survive back then.
Definitely.
And they just honestly they kind of chose like not a great place to put their settlement. Like don't hate the player, hate the game.
Make strategic moves in the game, and one of them is not putting your farming settlement in a place with shitty soil.
Exactly. It's like,
I'm not victim blaming though.
no, no, of course not. But like the game Catan, like if you
I
put
was just thinking that. I was literally just thinking that.
put your settlement next to like two deserts, like you're not going to get that many resources. Sorry.
Screwed. And if you put your settlements on all ore, when it comes time to get some sheep or some hay, you're kind of screwed.
You're
Sorry.
going to get hella ore.
You're gonna get hella ore.
Sorry. That's just how it is. So time goes on, things are not going well. By the mid 19th century, more fertile land is becoming available in the Midwest, manifest destiny and all that.
Oh yeah.
Um, and the local iron industry is declining, which means that the population of Cornwall is beginning to dwindle. Remember, Cornwall is the uh, town that Dudleytown is encompassed in. Um, so people are starting to leave. They're like, yeah, this blows. Like, let's go to the Midwest where there actually are like chances for us to make a living. I really can't blame them.
No, I can't either. I mean,
Like,
you're playing with not a full deck here. Like, you know what
no.
I'm saying? You're trying to compete economically against places that have better conditions, isn't dark for a good like half the day.
Oh my god, so depressing.
At like in the best case scenario, I mean, that's also another thing like that I'll talk about later, but like I don't know if anyone else listening is feeling the effects of seasonal depression. Like
Oh my
I
god,
am
yes.
quite literally
Yes.
so ready for spring. But if my town was dark like 90% of the time, It's not a good motivator to get up there and till the fields, you know?
Seriously, you don't have any like you can't even like be like, oh, I'm gonna be like cozy and like read my book and like that's so
No
depressing.
electricity.
Yeah,
Sorry. Burn a
yeah,
candle, I guess.
that's really sad. Yeah, I didn't even think about the seasonal depression, but you're so right. So, so yeah, everyone's leaving. Can't blame them. The last resident of the town was John Patrick Rodfee, and his wife and his kids apparently went missing. And he spent the rest of his life looking for them. So that was like kind of how
Very
the
sad.
town ended, which is like very dark and kind of fitting for the weird vibes we've got going on.
Oh yeah.
Um, so by the early 1900s, the settlement is completely abandoned. Nature starts to reclaim the land, and the forest grows very thick around the remnants of the village. Uh, Obviously, you know, as nature reclaims it, people start to discuss rumors of paranormal activity. They say it's haunted. Thrill seekers and ghost hunters come and they're trying to, get a look at it. But it's interesting because the actual town itself, like it's not really an abandoned town. Like if you go look at pictures, like everything is pretty much gone. Like you can maybe find like remnants of the town like like if you look around, but it's not like there's like s- houses and
Yeah,
mills
it's
and
like
stuff like that.
foundations pretty much are left.
Yes.
And like
So
wells, like
yeah, exactly. So it's not like particularly like you don't go over there expecting that you're gonna see like, oh, this old creepy town. Like it's really pretty much just a forest at this point. Um, or that's what they want us to think.
and
So
actually you can't go over there at all. It's private property.
it
So,
is.
yes, don't say that East Coast Haunts sent you if you decide to
Yeah,
go there.
please no. We
We're not
cannot handle another lawsuit. So, in the mid 1920s, after it's been completely abandoned, a group called Dark Entry Forest Association purchased the land. Their mission was to reforest and conserve the area, and they planted thousands of trees and they worked to protect the land from further damage. And it seems like they've actually done a pretty great job, because, like we were just saying, it's basically a forest at this point. It's privately owned, like Mary Kate just said, and it's closed to the public. Trespassers will face legal consequences. Like they don't play around with that, so just don't do it.
It's
Um,
not worth it, you
and
guys.
apparently it is pretty frequent. People vandalize and trespass, which is like kind
That's
of
so
rude.
shitty.
Like
Don't
I
vandalize.
know, especially I'm like this is like this is also like a forest. Like, do you really want to go out and like ruin nature? Like what?
Yeah, and
Um,
like nature and not to like spoiler alert, but like a lot of people died in this town. So like
yeah, like let's be respectful.
let's have some decorum.
I think that it would be interesting if we could get the New Jersey drones. I know those are kind of like last year, those are like end of 2024 vibes, but like could we get those above to see like what's going on? Because the air is technically like not doesn't belong to anyone, right?
True. Too
So
true.
just saying.
I'll have my people call the drone people.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. I would
Did I
appreciate
tell you I saw one actually, like in person?
No! I still
Yeah.
am the only one who didn't see one.
It was quite creepy, I'm not
How
gonna
big
lie.
was
It
it?
was
Was it
flying like
actually the size of like an SUV or whatever?
yeah, it was the size of like a large pickup truck. And
Bro, that is insane.
it
That's concerning.
flew eye level past my like second story window. Isn't that crazy?
Wait. At
It
your
was down
apartment?
low.
Your
No, at
Pennsylvania?
my house, my family's
What, when
house.
did this happen?
Uh like I think right before New Year's or like right after
Okay, that
New
was
Year's, like in that time frame.
in the heyday of the drones.
Yeah,
That's
literally when they
really
were going crazy.
scary. What the heck? And we still don't really know what they were. So that's kind of weird.
It is kind of strange.
But
My
all
dad has a lot of theories.
I have heard some crazy theories. I'm like, I don't even know what to believe anymore. Like,
No.
honestly, do whatever you like, whatever. Like, you can watch us and stuff, but like, also like put some over Dudleytown if you don't mind.
Yes, let's and also I kind of think that they're trying to find the Jersey Devil. That's my theory.
That would be Mary Kate. Why did I not even think of that? What if
Because the chances of
they
that
are?
actually being true are like .000.
What and also, like, what would the goal be? Like, if they found the Jersey Devil, they'd just be like, okay.
It exists. Well, okay, not to like bring everything back to this, but like, Pop Tropica, obviously.
Yes.
Tropica. So there used to be Cryptid Island, and the whole like backstory behind that was like there was a millionaire whose like life mission it was to like prove that cryptids exist. Like,
Okay.
what if he was like based off of a real person? And he's upgraded his tech now and like branched into drones.
I think you're gonna imply that it was Elon Musk or something.
Who knows? Elon Musk seems like the type to be into cryptids.
Yeah, he
That's
definitely
all I'm
would
saying.
be. He definitely
That's
would be.
all I'm saying. And you know what? It's friendly fire because we're both into cryptids too. So
I know. God, I never thought I'd be in the same
the only thing
Elon Musk.
the only thing that we may have in common.
Oh my god. Yeah, I'd be happy. I'd be happy if they were using those drones and our taxpayer dollars. Like, I'd be fine with that. To find the Jersey Devil.
It's better than a lot of the alternative theories. So
very true. So that's like pretty much the overview of the history of Dudleytown, but I didn't really touch on the spooky paranormal aspect. So
that's what they paid me for.
I'm gonna ask you to take it away if you don't.
Okay. So let's delve into the Dudley family curse a little bit.
Okay,
like
yeah.
Sam said, it was thought to extend all the way back to 1510 when a distant ancestor, Edmund Dudley, committed treason against the King of England, which was at the time Henry VIII.
Our boy Henry.
Your boy Henry.
Just kidding.
I don't claim him. He was sentenced to execution, but someone, I'm not sure if it was Henry VIII or someone else, cursed him before killing him. And so his lineage would experience misfortune and disgrace, and it pretty soon started to take effect. So Edmund's son, whose name was John Dudley, he was the Duke of Northumberland, and he attempted to install his daughter-in-law, Lady Jane Grey, as the Queen of England, and her husband. And her husband to be, which was John's son, Guilford.
Oh, I see now. Okay.
She was actually reigning queen for a very brief period of time.
I was gonna say, I definitely recognize that name.
Yeah, because I was reading it too, and I was like, I think he was successful, and he was.
Yeah.
Briefly, and then she was overthrown, and all three were executed in 1553.
Oh,
so, yeah, didn't end well for them. The curse was then passed down until it reached Gideon, Abiel, and Barzillai, and they supposedly brought it to Dudleytown.
And Martin.
And Martin. Yes, sorry, how could I forget Martin as well? And so, like you said, too, there was a lot of, like, very weird and, like, sad things happening in Dudleytown. So I'm just gonna go through, like, a couple of weird/sad stories for, like, specific residents.
Okay. That was a sad story.
Yeah. So the first one that we're going to talk about is Nathaniel Carter. And this, depending on what source you look at, one of two things happened to him.
Okay.
But we know that he left on a business trip in the 1760s, and he returned to find his wife and children brutally murdered.
Wait, let me stop you real quick.
Yes.
It's horrible, but I did not know that they had business trips in the 1700s.
Like, that's what they phrased it as. Was like a business trip, or like left on business, I guess. Like,
okay.
Yes, like,
I gotta go to the convention in Vegas, baby.
Farming convention. No, they definitely used to have farming conventions. No, they definitely did. I know that that's a thing.
Okay, I believe you.
But whatever. He left for business, not for pleasure reasons. He left for business, and he returned to find his wife and children brutally murdered. Now, some of the historical sources say that they were murdered by a group of neighboring Native Americans. And some sources say that he actually killed them himself.
Ooh.
So, yeah, I'm not 100% sure. I'm not going to make a judgment. But those are the two stories that are out there. And in either case, in the case that he did not murder them, he moved back to New York, which he had other family there, and he was murdered himself shortly after.
God.
Or in the story that he was the murderer, he was killed by the rest of the town as like retribution for killing his family.
Okay, so either way, he did not have a
But a
great.
very gruesome end, either way.
Okay.
Now let's. I know.
All right.
Tough break for Nathaniel. So now let's talk about Abiel Dudley. He lived until the ripe age of 90. So
Whoa! What
yeah,
the heck?
good looks for someone in the 19th century.
Okay, Abiel.
Or 18th century? Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I always get that confused.
18th into 19th?
Yeah.
And he suffered dementia and actually went insane at the end of his life.
Okay, so that's also not ideal.
Not ideal, but also, I mean, natural. Like, it could have been a natural cause.
Yeah, I mean, if you're 90 years old, yeah.
People go senile at the age of 90. It is an unfortunate fact of life.
Yeah. People go senile a lot earlier than 90, honestly.
True. I think my dog is going senile right now.
Why?
He's just biting my hand as I talk to you guys.
Going into sicko mode.
Literally. So the next resident is someone named Gershon Hollister, who was a good friend of Abiel.
Okay.
It was said that he was brutally murdered on another resident's property. His name was William Tanner. But depending on, again, what source you look at, it also is noted that he could have fallen to his death while building a barn for William Tanner. So,
Okay.
in any case, again, met a very gruesome end.
Okay,
And this was in 1792. The same William Tanner, whose property he died on, suffered a bout of severe insanity, and he claimed that some sort of nondescript creature in the woods killed Hollister.
Okay.
Very
Bro,
weird.
when we get into the creatures in the woods, I'm gonna actually start cracking up.
It's like, actually, there's no like specifics, but people just say that they see weird stuff in the woods.
How they have like different like the head of like a human and like the body of like a snake or whatever.
The Bell Witch, where it had like the body of a dog and the head of a rabbit.
Yeah. It was stuff like that. I was like, what is this? Okay, continue.
Don't worry, guys. It was just my dog. Sarah Faye won. She was struck by lightning on her porch. As you mentioned.
That one's really sad.
It's so sad. And her husband, a Revolutionary War general, he went insane after hearing the news.
Aw.
I know, which is so sad.
Yeah.
Mary Cheney, who was the wife of presidential nominee Horace Greeley, she suffered from mental illness, and unfortunately she committed suicide a week before the election in 1872. And a week later, her husband Greeley lost to Ulysses S. Grant in the presidential election.
Oh man, it's so sad
sad.
all around. But also, he probably was having a rough like go of it. That those things happen within like
It's like a 1-2 punch when it rains
Oh
it
my
pours.
God.
Yeah.
Jeez,
So
and
sad.
do they live in Dudleytown?
She was from Dudleytown,
Okay.
and
Interesting.
they didn't live in Dudleytown, but like brief trigger warning, they found her hanging from her childhood home rafters
Oh my
in
God.
Dudleytown. So she apparently went home for some reason.
Wow, that reminds me of The Haunting of Hill House.
Yes.
That's like
Oh,
exactly
so
what happened.
sad. I know.
Oh, that's so sad. Wow, there's a lot of
There's a
sad-
lot of weird stuff. Then, like you mentioned, Patrick Brophy or Brophy. He was one of the last remaining residents. His wife actually died of tuberculosis.
Oh, okay.
And shortly after, like within a day or two, both of his children wandered off into the woods and were never seen again.
Oh,
And so
no.
he wandered off into the woods in search of them, and he was never found. And then, like a week later, their house burned down.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
And those were the last one. That's like some sort of like universal, I don't know, like
Yeah.
they were closing the chapter on Dudleytown. They were like, okay, no one else is living here.
Yeah.
Like, everyone
Well,
yeah.
actually,
Oh, was there someone
we have
else?
one last resident. And he came later. So he His name is Dr. William Clark,
Okay.
and he bought property in Dudleytown in 1900.
Okay.
And he like maintained this property. I guess he didn't live there, but he maintained it. He had a house on it, but it wasn't their like main residence.
Bro thought he could rent it out. Meanwhile,
Bro thought he would maintain property in this paranormal town and nothing would
what
happen.
could go wrong?
Yeah, exactly. Uh, and so 18 years after he originally bought the property, he and his wife were, I guess, vacationing, or, they were in the Dudleytown residence for some reason.
Vacationing in Dudleytown is crazy.
I don't know if they were there for business or pleasure, did not specify. He
Fair.
was like a renowned cancer doctor. So
Oh
he
wow.
left for like a 36-hour, I'm assuming, business trip.
Okay.
So 36 hours. And
Okay.
he returns home to his wife, who has fully gone insane and is now claiming to have seen strange creatures coming out of the woods while he was gone. And unfortunately, she committed suicide about a week after.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. It makes you wonder. It's like, did she actually go insane, or like was she actually seeing all this stuff? Like, and so she just seemed insane because he was like, "What is this? Like, what are you talking
I I don't know, but whatever she saw or whatever she thought she saw
Must have
was
been.
enough to obviously drive her to take her own life, which
Oh my
is
God, that's so
tragic,
sad.
horribly sad. But
And
yeah,
this was in the nine. This was in like the 1900s now. So this is like hundreds of years of like really like if this happened like once or twice, it would be like really really sad. But
it
this
just
is a
keeps
lot. This is a
happening.
lot.
And these are like documented cases that we do know about.
Yeah.
Could you imagine? I mean,
Yeah.
it's like the 1700s, 1800s. I'm sure the records are not what
No.
they
Yeah.
are now. So, you
Oh my
know,
God. This is messy.
yeah, just wait. Uh like I not to say that it gets worse because we're pretty much past the worst of it, but
It stays
it
bad.
continues to stay crazy.
Yeah.
So, guess who was invited to check out Dudleytown in the 1970s?
The 70s. Mm. I
You
was.
know him, you love him. Maybe not love him.
Oh, Ed and Lorraine. Well,
Yes.
I was gonna guess like Ronald Reagan or something for some reason. I don't think he was been president until the 80s. Like, why would they be inviting him? Anyway, okay.
No, staple. So obviously they are pretty prevalent around the Connecticut area,
For
you
better
know,
or for worse.
for better or for worse. And they visited in the 1970s and they declared the land to be demonically possessed.
Okay.
It
Yes.
is, however, worth noting that they were there for a Halloween special, a televised Halloween special. So,
Classic Ed and Lorraine. Leave it to them.
so whether you want to put a lot of stock in that, who knows?
They're like, what if we made it a Halloween special?
What if we, got
These-
some money out of this?
yeah,
Yeah.
that's what it's
So
all about for them, I think.
I think everything kind of works out for them in the end.
Yeah.
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 So
Yeah.
yeah. But general paranormal activity that goes on around the Dudleytown. Obviously, we've talked about the abnormal bouts of insanity and unfortunately suicide. The reports of strange creatures in the woods. The apparitions. There's the woman who was struck by lightning is a pretty common apparition for ghost hunters to see. Sarah Faye one, and also William Tanner, who witnessed the death of the guy either murdered on his property, Hollister, either murdered on his property or fell from the roof
Right.
of a barn, and then claimed that it was, some sort of cryptid that did it. Disembodied voices, horrifying.
God, there's a lot going on here.
A lot of
Like every-
electronic device malfunctions.
That's not surprising. It's like
Yeah.
everything that could happen is happening here.
It's just it's so weird. And then this is what I think is the creepiest thing. So you know how you said the dark entry forest
Yes.
took it over and kind of created this like nature preserve. Like it was also at one point supposed to be a like habitat refuge for birds.
Okay.
However, people who go to Dudleytown
Wow.
say there's absolutely zero natural noise. Like there's no bird calls, there's no wind rustling the leaves. It is just eerily silent, and like there's a lot of claims that says the same
That's
thing.
very weird because I feel like the forest, even when you're completely alone in the forest, that
It's
is like,
like it not to say that it's loud, but like it's definitely not quiet.
wow.
Is that
That is
weird?
very interesting. Yeah, that is like uh chilling. Because I almost feel like if I'm like freaked out, like I want there to be noise, like
Oh,
ambient noise of
totally.
some sort. Like the thought of it just being completely silent. That's so weird. Especially because it's a forest, so you know there's animals there. That okay.
So creepy. And
Yeah.
just to like elaborate a little bit on the strange creatures that were seen in the woods, uh obviously shadow figures, that's like and we're talking like Slenderman type shadow figures, like tall, super skinny, they move really fast and like on all fours,
Oh,
which is
me
terrifying.
when I run up. Do you remember when we were little? We would run up the stairs like that.
Yes, I honestly, to this day, in my basement, in my like family home, I will run up the stairs on all
Yeah,
fours when
it's
I turn the lights off in the basement because it
it's
like
an
freaks me
instinct.
out. It
It's
literally is. It's like get out of here.
on all fours.
It's so fun to do that
The
though.
only reason I don't do it now is in my house we don't have like the runners or whatever on the stairs, so like I know I would.
You probably like, dude, don't do it wearing socks. You'll
I
eat
know.
it.
I know exactly. Otherwise, you know, I would be up on all fours. Okay, that's really freaky. This is like hitting every single thing that could be scary.
So terrifying. Black dogs with glowing red eyes.
Okay,
Which
classic.
whenever, yeah, this is a classic. Whenever this kind of like omen is mentioned, did you ever have to read The Hound of the Baskervilles
So
for school?
you're gonna think I'm crazy, but I actually was just listening to it as a sleep story. But I
Are you
keep
serious?
yes, but I keep falling asleep during. First of all, is it? It is Sherlock Holmes, right? I was so confused.
It's Arthur Conan Doyle, but I don't think it's Sherlock Holmes.
Maybe I think it was like Watson or something. I kept falling asleep.
Yeah,
So
I believe you're right. I believe it is
I
Watson.
couldn't tell if it was like a mystery
Yeah,
or
it
a
is.
horror. Okay, okay.
It's a horror
And
mystery.
like they think that there's like a werewolf or something. Like what is it?
Yeah, it's.
Okay.
I mean, I don't want to spoil it, even though it's been like
It's like 300 years
over a
old.
century. Yes. But it to this day is one of my favorite books that I ever had to read for school. And like
Hmm.
whenever I hear about like a ghostly black dog,
That's what
that's
you think.
always what I think of. Yeah.
You know, it's so funny because when I was looking for a new sleep story, I have never heard of the Hound of the Baskervilles ever.
I love it. It's
Um,
honestly listen to it as an audiobook
okay, yeah, not as a
instead of a sleep
sleep
story.
story. Okay.
It's so good.
Ooh, okay, I'm gonna have to.
Just, uh
Recommendations.
just yeah, classic literary recommendations with MK. Uh There's also reports of wraith-like entities, so like translucent basic apparitions.
Okay. Your
And
big
I was joking about this, but strange animal hybrids.
yes.
So, yes, they're back. They're back, baby, but they
Yeah,
say
animal
often like a quadruped with like elongated limbs and like
Ooh.
unnatural movements. And
Ooh.
I know you're not supposed to say the name of these, but SKIN
Yeah.
walkers. Yeah.
Ooh.
Definitely, yeah, freaky. I believe we did a Patreon episode on those, didn't we?
We did do one a while ago because when we were
Yeah.
talking about cryptids and everything.
This is my favorite report. A few people have claimed to have seen shadowy winged beings, possibly Mothman.
Mothman.
Flying pick that man off the ground. I said, Mothman.
Oh, that made me so happy.
I know. Um, and yeah, so those are just some of the like examples of the weird,
Just a few.
strange creatures. Had to leave it off with Mothman.
So it almost sounds like every cryptid or creature ever is wandering in these woods, low key.
Yes. It's basically like like a portal.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it, that's what it sounds like. I'm surprised that like there was nothing I didn't see anything in my research about it being a portal, but it's funny that there's all this and like that's not I mean, I'm sure that's what
It's
people
not a common, yeah, theory. Speaking of theories,
Yes.
let's talk a little bit about like some of the conspiracies around why Dudleytown was abandoned.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh Obviously, the first and like not fun one is natural causes and economic hardship.
Boo.
Yeah, boo. Like we've kind of beaten this fact to death, but the soil was super poor.
Yeah.
There obviously manifest destiny, people were moving out west.
Yeah.
Uh it was a super isolated area because it was down in that valley and it didn't have like river access or anything like that. So
Just
there was very
really
little
bad.
trade. And we didn't talk about this, but there was severe smallpox outbreaks
Ooh. Oh
at,
yeah, I didn't
at
even think
certain
about that
points
stuff. Yeah, okay.
in surrounding areas. So it definitely could have found its way
That
to
doesn't help.
no. And actually it was speculated that someone brought the Black Plague over from
That's
yeah,
embarrassing for
I
whoever brought
know.
it over.
Which I don't know if does that timeline line up because I thought the
No, that's
plague
what
was
I
a
was
lot
wondering
earlier.
too. Well, the plague was in like the medieval
Yeah,
times.
okay.
But I mean, maybe I mean, some once in a while there is still a case of the Black Plague, like even now.
Yeah,
So
which is
maybe
crazy.
someone brought it over, and that's like the equivalent of like I remember when I was in high school, a girl or two girls brought like lice to school, and we were like, I was like, what? Literally, why do you have lice? You're like 16. I'm sorry, is that mean? But lice is like my biggest fear. Well, it's not really
Yes.
anymore. It was my biggest fear for like years and years and years. So I was like that's so embarrassing, like to have lice like past the certain age. And now I'm gonna like wake up tomorrow with lice, and I'm all never
Like
mind. Just forget it. Just forget it.
I do have like an irrational fear of getting lice in my 20s. Like I can't.
Well, if I when we have kids, like I and if
Oh
my
yeah,
kids,
you're gonna lose
I
it.
don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't know what I'm gonna do.
You're gonna put a hat on their head and you're gonna say, "Do not take this off."
Yeah, I'm like, you're getting a buzz cut today, sweaty.
Oh, actually, I just Googled it, and there was an outbreak of the bubonic plague from 1855 to the 1960s.
Oh my God,
I wish it's the 1960s.
that's a long outbreak. Dear God.
I know. It originated in China and it spread worldwide and particularly affected India. So if there was any sort of like overseas dealing,
Then now we know.
could have happened. So obviously this is like we're talking about natural causes. Some people say that it was like purely psychological. So
Oh,
um
interesting. I don't know if
there
that.
were high levels of iron and lead in the water
Okay, but
and the soil.
iron isn't necessarily bad, is it?
No, but high levels of iron can lead to hallucinations.
Okay. Oh,
So that could explain some of the creatures that we're seeing
yeah.
in the woods.
That one definitely.
And like I kind of alluded to earlier, I kind of feel like maybe the fact that the town was dark after noon most days uh
Yeah.
could have had something to do with the mental illness epidemic that
Yeah.
was, pretty prevalent.
That's actually a really good point because
I
that does
actually
affect. Like today, it was like so gross and rainy, but then like the sun came out for like an hour, and my mood like improved like
instantly
drastically.
improves.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that yeah, these are okay. These are good.
So, and obviously, our last theory is that the town is actually haunted and
Yep.
the curse of the Dudley family is real. Of course, there's the classic explanation that it was settled on an ancient Native American burial ground
Okay.
and that the land was cursed, as is a lot of the explanations for weird paranormal activity in the New England and East Coast area. Um, and but also like a lot of the sightings and stuff, it kind of reminds me of the Salem witch trials a little bit because there may have been a little bit of like mental illness and widespread like hysteria
Yeah.
in this town, like to a much lesser extent, but you know,
But not even like it's like it seems like there was so much mental illness and like hysteria going on, but it wasn't like focused on like persecuting others. So you know
Yeah.
what I mean? So it's like kind of different. Jeez, okay.
It's
Interesting.
just a really odd, like a really weird case, you know?
Yeah,
And
it
I
is.
hesitate to call it a case, but it's like a really weird part of history, like American history.
And it's just and it's so weird that it's like not a place anymore. They just like were like, you know what, screw it. Like this didn't work. Like let's
Didn't
just
work,
like
try again.
yeah, like let's like
Where
put it
else?
back to nature. You know what I mean? It's like it's very
Yeah.
interesting. Which honestly, that was probably the smartest thing for them to do. Like they were like, listen, it's been like 200 something years. Like let's just hang up the towel. Like it's not going well.
Let's throw in the towel, call it a day, you know, move
Really?
out west.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Like, would you? Okay, if we had the opportunity to go, and there was a guarantee that you would not get caught, would you like to walk through there?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I probably would too. It kind of sounds cool.
I would like to walk past there if I had to stake my bet on whether place is haunted or not. I would say no because I think there's just too much like natural cause, too many natural causes
Yes,
that
and
could
there,
explain everything that went down.
right, and like so many of the things that happen, it's like it's so bad and so sad, but it's like in the olden days, like there were so many like bad, sad things that happened, and there
Yeah.
still are today. But like if you put it in the context of like a curse, it's like, well, yeah, the crops failed. Well, yeah, people were like murdering and getting killed and all this stuff. But also that happens like I don't know, everywhere else too.
Yeah, I mean, you can just explain it away so easily because, yeah, okay, your crops aren't growing. It's because the soil here is really poor. It's
Yeah.
rocky. There's high content of lead in the soil.
Exactly. Yeah, we know things now that we didn't know back then.
Exactly. The technology that has improved farming wise and like agriculture wise is insane. Like, I don't want to get off on a tangent because this is not an agriculture podcast,
Or
but
is
but but just like I think that a lot of the things that happened to this town back then wouldn't have been an issue today. And I don't think that we would be so quick to jump to paranormal explanations
yeah.
with all the scientific testing and also the like, continued destigmatization of mental health. Like,
Good
I
word.
don't think that them saying like the people were going insane is like a very faint, like it's not a
Yeah,
very
'cause
fair thing to say.
exactly. It's
No.
like I'm sure there is so much more behind that. Like I'm like if this like if the story is true about the lady that like went insane in 35 hours, it's like I'm sure there was more going on.
Yeah, it's
Like
I think you could study this and come up with a lot of more reasonable explanations,
yeah.
but it is a fun ghost story to talk, not fun, but it is an interesting ghost story to talk about. It's, there is still that little like era of I'm not really sure what happened here.
I know exactly. It's why it's like it's very open ended. It's a very open end. Like sometimes I'm like, oh, this place is definitely haunted, and this place is definitely not haunted. With this, and I'm like, I don't know.
I definitely am not going to make a definitive judgment. I just,
I lean
like
more
I
towards
said,
no though.
yeah, I lean
Yeah.
more towards no, but I would like to go see the remains of this town just because I think it's interesting from a historical point of view.
Add to the road trip log
I
itinerary.
actually I actually just checked to see how far it was away from Newport, Rhode Island, and
Oh my god, how far is
it's a
it?
little bit too far, but
Oh man, yeah. You know what's not
next
far from
time.
Rhode Island though? From Newport is the Lizzie Borden house is actually very close. Cause I was I was like to Ray, I was like, should we go?
No, I have to do that with you. I
I know
have
I do
to.
feel like we have to do it together. I do feel like we have to do it
This
together.
fall? This
Count
fall?
me in. Count me in.
Let's do it. Okay, you heard it here
Okay.
first.
You'll see us in. Oh my god, I'm gonna be so scared. I'm so
Fall
scared
River,
already.
Massachusetts.
Hit us up. We will be vlogging the entire thing, of course.
But that's all I've got on Dudleytown.
Yeah, we
Make
kind
sure
of.
that you follow our Instagram though, because we do post some fun visuals on there, stuff to go along with the
Yeah,
episodes.
it'll help you kind of visualize Dudleytown itself.
Exactly. We've
Um,
been a lot more active on social media lately since our brief reprieve.
It's a brief
of 5
hiatus. We're back. We're
But
in our
yeah.
influencer era. We're back.
Anyway, until next time,
We're just two gals, ghouls, creeping it real.
it real.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.